screen like they keep doing. And I am live. And let me see. Twitch, Facebook page. Alright, make sure we're seeing it. Alright, there it is.
Yeah, how do you know? People are seeing it.
I got to share this tab instead, and hopefully that didn't just. Let me make sure it's picking it up. All right. All right, everybody. Here we go. I'm going to let this play out. Listen carefully. I'm having a pleasant evening. And I just wanted to jump on here and give you something to share out with everyone. Go to my YouTube channel. And as you're reading in the title, okay, just a few days ago, we had the question that you see in the description asked in 3 separate court cases. And let me share with you the results thus far, but the response that was garnered in each of these separate court cases that were not held at the same time. These were 3 separate cases at 3 different times and 3 different issues. The first one, a gentleman, I use that term loosely, Quentin. Quentin, we're just going to call him Quentin. Went to court, and there was a public defender, of course. Hey, are you going to take the deal? Are you going to take the offer? Quentin showed him the question that he was going to ask as a conditional acceptance before accepting the offer. And the public defender responded with, I'm not your attorney. I'm not your lawyer. And ran inside the courtroom, leaving him outside of the courtroom. This engagement was going on outside of the courtroom before Quentin went in. He showed him the question he was going to ask. And panic ensued, obviously, with the public defender, who said, I'm not your lawyer. I'm not going to be your lawyer. You asked that question. And then went inside the courtroom and obviously informed the administrator, the prosecutor, the bailiff, the court reporter, what was going to be asked. Quentin came in. He posed the question, and when he did, pure panic ensued with everyone involved, the court reporter, the administrator, the prosecutor, and the bailiff, all begin yelling, he's got a warrant, he's got a warrant, he's got a warrant. This was the distraction to rush him out of the courtroom. The bailiff comes over, cuffs him up, and Quentin's saying, there's no warrant. There's no warrant. Yeah, we have a warrant. There's a warrant out for your arrest. You're under arrest. And Quentin said, no, there is no, there's no warrant. There's no active, there's no warrants. And when they told him what the warrant was, he goes, no, that case was dismissed back in 21, this 21 or 22. I'm a little confused about, it was like 22. It was 3 years ago, Gregorian years, that they were referencing this warrant from a case that was dismissed. So that was the response to asking the question, Can the prosecutor please verify the date of birth for the legal name being used in the matter and show evidence that the name is mine under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability? He tried to hand the question that he had written down on the piece of paper. Of course, nobody would take it. They played the distraction card of he's got a warrant, which there was no warrant. Let me be very clear. There was no warrant. He was being very truthful about the idea of this warrant was 3 years old and that case was dismissed. There is no warrant. They arrest him anyway. They load him up. This is in Nevada, by the way. They transfer him over to the jail. While that transport is going on, Douglas Joseph calls and informs them, hey, there is no warrant. He even looked it up to verify that there was no warrant and that they were using a case that was 3 years old that had issued a warrant but had been dismissed. Okay, the warrant wasn't like forgotten about or valid, or it was just what they used to get him out of the courtroom. By the time he got to the jail, they literally just take him out of transport and release him. They don't book him in. They don't do any of that business. They just released him because they didn't have a warrant. But they used that 3-year-old case and that dismissed case with the warrant to rush him out of the court. That's how that one played out. The other instance was Douglas Joseph asking for the prosecutor to verify the date of birth for the legal name being used in the matter and show evidence that that name, that legal organization name, is my name. Unfortunately, he did not use the terms under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability in his question, which next time he certainly will. The administrator immediately says, well, we're not going to do this right now. We're just going to continue this matter. And bam, 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 it was over. Rush him out of the court. Another one was Mike in a no driver's license matter. Remember, Douglas Joseph is being falsely accused on hearsay, and there is no evidence in the case whatsoever. They're just trying to hem him up. Mike, on a driver's license issue, he asked the question of the prosecutor, can you verify the date of birth for the legal name being used in this matter and show evidence that the organization name is my name under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability? The prosecutor immediately demanded that he be put in jail. That didn't happen. And they pushed the matter off. Here's what I can say. And I've already said this. I've been saying this since 22, since the file date was pointed out to me. You should be asking this question of everybody, everywhere, anywhere, no matter what, whether it's a court, a bank, city council, county commission, school board, mayors, governors. I don't care. I don't care who it is. Legislators, senators, anybody involved in the whole corporate makeup that are basically earning their keep off the backs of the people that are being enticed into this dishonorable position as surety and debtor for a state-created legal organization name. I hope I'm being very clear about what I'm sharing with you. This should be the most asked question in the world right now. UK, Australia, Canada, anywhere they're using legal names. It's a very simple question that they can't answer. And that's why the more people that are asking this simple question of everyone involved, clerks of the court, I don't care. If they're making their living off the hardships that they are creating for people through these state-created legal organization names, they should be able to easily answer that question, which they cannot easily answer that question without committing the perjury and facing the full commercial liability. This is a very, very, very powerful moment for everyone who wants to simplify the challenges that need to be made in reference to the misuse of these legal organization trust names, because we know what they're doing. And of course, we're sovereign citizens, we're conspiracy theorists, we're anything but telling the truth and being correct about what we're seeing. And you know, the crimes that are being committed with these legal names is so egregious. It just, anyone with a moral compass should be just absolutely disgusted, because the reality should be not one homeless man, woman, son, or daughter on the street, not one homeless vet. There shouldn't be all this suffering. There should be no medical being turned down. There should be no one's cars being taken, no one's homes being taken, because we are the creditors. And, you know, I try to keep this thing simplified in common sense fashion, that, you know, what are we doing? In the grand scheme of things, what are we doing? Because this should be the most asked question of every corporate actor in the world today that are using legal names to prop up fiat under the law merchant, under the scheme of secure transactions. I'll reference you to a post here that I have. It's a pretty good one. He's talking about the overlay, but let me get down here to this post here. Okay. This is a public notice that you'll find here on the Ken Scott profile, and it's a complete legal summary of the ultra-virus or ultra-virus, however you'd like to pronounce it, acts and the commingling of the legal and living identity. Remember, the Gregorian biological date of birth should not be commingled with the state-created legal organization name. It has its own creation date, which is that file registration date. The doctrine of ultra vires, which is Latin for beyond the powers, applies when the corporate or governmental entities act outside its lawful authority or beyond the powers granted by its charters, constitution, or jurisdiction. The summary establishes how government agencies, courts, corporations have acted ultra vires through non-disclosed constructive trust, legal name fraud, and the digital ID system. Stop being scared of all of this stuff. Everything that they're building upon is built upon a fraud that's easily proven by this file registration date, which creates a void. There's no status to correct. There's no U.S. citizen to be worried about being or not being. There's no status to be applied to the American people. Okay? I just want to be very clear about this. So through non-disclosed constructive trust, legal name fraud, and the digital ID system, driver's license, state IDs, fishing license, hunting license, gun permits, I don't care what it is, bank accounts, everything falls under this legal name that the state has created, this legal organization name. And it's a fraud to commingle the Gregorian biological date. It's a misalignment of the information straight from the birth certificate. It's very simple to see. This is very simple, straightforward, prima facie evidence of mass fraud against every man, woman, son, and daughter ever to have been registered by the commingling of the biological living being with the state-created legal entity without full disclosure or consent. The background, the file registration date versus the biological date. The certificate of live birth records the biological date of birth. The state then creates a legal fiction, an organization name, a corporate fiction, a corporate person, trust, or franchise. As we see, all legislation applies to persons. And what the legislators are involved in creating legislation that applies to persons is mass fraud. This is the amount of criminality that's going on with these legal names. Every legislator to ever create any legislation toward a person is a co-conspirator in the commingling of the Gregorian biological date of birth with the legal name, with that state-created legal organization name. I mean, the amount of people that are involved in profiting for unjust enrichment by this scheme is massive. It's massive. It's huge. So the state then creates a legal fiction, corporate person, trust, or franchise via or a business via the file registration date. This is when the legal name begins. The legal name does not exist when you pop out your mama. The norm is 3 to 10 days after you pop out your mama. They created the state organization name that looks just like your name in all caps. The state-created entity is a separate, distinct legal person under statutory law. Yet over time, the use of the legal name has been imposed on the living man or woman as if they are one and the same, a blending of two separate legal capacities. Key ultra vires violations: creation and use of the legal entity without informed consent. The state does not disclose that registration creates a legal person or corporate trust. Informed consent is never sought from the living being or their guardians. This violates trust law, constructive trust formed without disclosure. Maxim of law, consensus passes legem. A consent makes the law. Ultra vires: the government has no lawful authority to create or operate a trust on behalf of a man or woman without the explicit agreement. Forcing the use of the legal name under duress or necessity, use of the legal name is required to access. Duress or necessity. Use of the legal name is required to access employment, banking, travel, education, medical care, yet the use is often under necessity, not voluntary. Ultra vires: no corporate entity or agency may require commercial identity participation as a condition for life essential services. The digital ID system, based on the same legal fiction. The digital ID system now tie the legal name, biometrics, and commercial rights into a centralized digital identity. The Palantir Group. If you have Palantir stock, as soon as this goes mass, as soon as this goes like viral, which this really needs to go viral, because that is how we apply the pressure, is hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people realizing how this game is being played with their lives and their livelihood and their wealth, how they're stealing from them, how they're denying them their own unlimited credit through the signature and, of course, Social Security. Social Security should not be using the Gregorian biological date of birth with the legal name in their system. This entire corporate system is FUBAR. Why? Because they've committed mass fraud, enticing one to commit perjury, which we're going to get into here in just a minute. I would suggest that you back this up. It's only up for 30 days. When I do this, I say, take this recording and blast it everywhere. Back it up, re-record it, blast it everywhere. Because if not, I'm just one man spitting the truth here in its most simplistic way that I can. And if you want to break the back of the corrupt legal system, which is the undoing of God's law, and you want to put an end to what's your name, what's your date of birth, real fast, this is the moment. This is your moment. And I know everyone has their personal battles, but I would tell you, that's micro. Macro is we all unite and we begin to ask this question of everyone involved in the corporate world at every turn, at every counter, at every county commission, every city council, every school board, every CPS actor, every bank manager, bank president, every crypto exchange. Gosh, I mean, it's the sky's the limit, isn't it, here? Because that legal name is the Achilles heel to the system. And what happens when they're forced to recognize that the file registration date is the proper date that must be used with that legal name? Oh, you are no longer a surety and debtor, because all debts are an obligation of the United States. You just look that up. I'm not even going to bother putting the code up. Oh, credit bureaus. They have to correct them. And what happens there? Oh, there's no longer your body tied to the state-created organization name for them to report a debt against. Don't want to be the debtor and surety? Want to be the creditor? This is the simplest way for everyone to get satisfaction. And you don't have to go to some guru class for the next 15 years trying to wrap your mind around all these ideas of all these things that you need to do. There are no actions that need to be taken against something that is a void. This is the very challenge that I give to Anna Von Rich with her status correction. How can there be a status to correct if it's void? You cannot correct a void. If it's void, hold on a minute. If you say, I have to correct something that's a void, then you're saying that it was legitimate in the first place. That's kind of like consenting to it by saying I have to do something to correct something that's a fraud on their part. I hope I'm being crystal clear about this. So the assumption is that the state-created fiction organization name equals the man or the woman, or your son or your daughter, even worse. And remember, these are minor accounts, and those birth certificates acknowledge nothing but a child. This is child trafficking. By the very definitions from the birth certificate, every time they use these legal names within their legal system, it's child trafficking. This is the massive child trafficking. Because when you turn 18, they certainly don't say, oh, you got to come get your new birth certificate that says you're an adult. Minor account, child trafficking. Every court case that they pursue through these legal organization names created by the state that are acknowledging a child, because that's the legal name that they're using. It's a legal name off the birth certificate. You can ask any cop on the street, what's your name? Oh, are you looking for a legal name? Yeah, a legal name, like the one on the birth certificate. Yep, that's perfect. Oh, you want a child's name? What are you, a pedophile? We'll let that simmer. Ultra vires, the expansion of the original legal fiction into a permanent digital ID goes beyond the authority originally granted at registration and further perpetuates fraud. Courts and agencies assuming jurisdiction via the legal name. Courts initiate actions against the legal name and presume jurisdiction over the man or the woman. This is done through constructive joinder, a presumption that living being has appeared and accepted the role of surety and debtor or trustee. I'll remind you all to go back and be reminded of what happened with Glenn Wayne when he gave the legal name and they wouldn't put and he gave them the file registration date. No license, no registration, no insurance. And what happened? What happened there? Oh, they tried to give him a $1,000 non-surety bond to go to court for the legal name. And what happened? The clerk of the court wouldn't even put the name up on the docket. They dropped it. He was pulled over by the same cop a month later or so. And, as soon as he got up the window and saw it was him, he said, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. Have a good day. No passport, no driver's license, no registration, no insurance. He was in a different car when he got pulled over. So the chief of police in New Brighton, Connecticut, came out and told him, man, you ain't got no problems. This matter's been dropped because they wouldn't give him the body cams because they don't want any of you to see what we're talking about here, what I'm sharing with you here. But Douglas Joseph has shared with me that I have been able to now focus on and share with you. This is the most important, most damaging information you could ever possibly bring forward. Stop fighting with these people. Stop trying to sue them. Let's put them in jail for the fraud that they're involved in. If they don't want to stop, we got them by the short hairs here. We just need what? A majority. We're not ruled by a majority, but rather a majority that participates. And if a majority of people, if this goes viral, if this can reach the masses and go viral, and enough people see how simple this is, it's game over. It's game over for Palantir, the digital IDs, the real ID, the driver's license, the state ID for you truckers out there. Your commercial license to do trucking should have that registration date on there, because outside of you being in that truck, actually being paid to haul a load, you're in your private capacity. These cops out here calling everyone a sovereign citizen. Oh, you think you have a right to travel? With the file registration date on the driver's license, hey, guess what? What do you have there? Oh, this is I'm in commerce. Otherwise, there's no way to tie it to you in your private capacity. See how simple this is, folks? Truly simple. I was really trying to get Jessica Saxton to look at this information because she's so well spoken, and to take this and inject it into what her and Tanawa Downing and what they're getting a lot of other people to do at county commission meetings and city council meetings. This needs to go to the school board. Any of you that are moms and dads with your babies that are enrolled in a public school, by all means, carry those birth certificates in mass and tell them, we know what you're doing. Okay? My son and daughter is not your paycheck. Okay? They're not your vessel in commerce. You're not going to teach my son and daughter to lie and give their Gregorian biological date of birth, which that's a whole nother topic to talk about how the calendar shift is it's in the works. It's manifesting, and it is going to happen. Because that really is the healing of all healing, is to get off the Rothschild Vatican banking calendar, known as the Gregorian calendar of chaos. Moving on. Commercial corporations do not have lawful authority to bind living people to corporate terms via government-issued legal names, these organization names. An act performed without legal authority is null and void. Null and void. Government or corporate actors must operate within the bounds of their charters, statutes, and constitutions. Pros omnia vitiate. Fraud vitiates everything. Any contract, bond, or obligation formed on the basis of deception, including the non-disclosed creation of the legal fiction, is void. Consent makes the law. Consensus facit legem. If there is no full knowing and voluntary consent, any legal obligations presumed to bind the living being are invalid. Ubi jus ibi remedium. Not so great at the Latin, but where there is a right, there is a remedy. And the right to control one's identity and legal capacity cannot be taken away without lawful recourse. A defense declaration for administrative or judicial use. Any use of the state-created legal name or digital ID linked thereto is made under necessity only and shall not be construed as voluntary consent, submission to jurisdiction, or acceptance of trust or debtor status. All presumptions to the contrary are rebutted by law, equity, and natural right. This is the slam banger, people. Slam banger. I hope that you will back up this live here. Okay? Don't let this go to waste. Separation of the biological identity from the legal fiction upon request. Cease and desist all digital ID schemes based on fraudulently created legal entities. Administrative record correction to reflect the biological date of birth and lawful standing. Disclosure of all trust, bond, and commercial instruments created using the legal name. Remedy and restitution for harm caused by unlawful enforcement, debt assumption, and identity theft. Boy, this is a big one. All constructive joinder enforced identities, presumed debtor roles, and jurisdictional claims arising from the commingling of the living being, Gregorian biological date of birth, which is a fiction under artificial time, under the Rothschild banking, Vatican banking, artificial time of Gregorian calendar. Okay, we're going to get to that issue as soon as we get enough people just to see the misalignment of the information that's going on. Okay, because how many places do you go? They have, oh, you need to bring your birth certificate, and you bring it there, and then they use the wrong information off of it. Yeah, and then they want you to raise your right hand and tell them that the information is true and correct under the penalty of perjury. The DMV clerks are about to have a really bad day. Okay, but remember, this is pressure coming from the top. This is the Department of Homeland Security. This is the federal territorial jurisdiction pushing this onto the people in their states. No government agency or private actor has lawful authority to impose corporate terms on a living being without express consent, and to do so knowingly is to engage in a system of institutionalized fraud, ultra-vires administration. Okay? Cash App, River Life Rapids. Let's move on to something else here. Okay? This is a breakdown of all the U.S. code provisions relevant to the commingling of the Gregorian date of birth with the state-created organization name, rather than the correct date known as the file registration date. That's the correct date, and they have to use it. And as soon as enough people see this and say, hey, do you want to be a taxpayer, a surety, and debtor for all of the crap that these people could come up with? I would say probably not. And if you volunteer for that, I would think that you probably need to have your head checked. But here we go. It's identity theft and misuse. 18 U.S.C. subsection 1028, fraud and related activities in connection with identification documents. Criminalizes misuse, creation, or transfer of identification documents. Applies with state agencies or officials knowingly create or use false and misleading identity documents without disclosure. What is the identity document? Your Gregorian biological date of birth being commingled with what? The state-created organization name that was not created the day you were born. Okay? There's both dates on, all the date, all the time, all of it's artificial time. Everything is under the jurisdiction that overlays all other jurisdictions, which is temporal jurisdiction. And that is going to be the icing on the cake as soon as we shut this down. This is so easy to shut down. Okay? So people can stop suffering under false allegations, having their babies taken by these CPS workers. Through what? Through legal names. Remember, all of you people that are involved with the family courts and the CPS fight, there's nothing to fight about. Hey, verify the date of birth of the son or daughter which you are trying to take from my family under the penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. The legal name, that you're using to try to use to take my son or daughter. Yeah, verify the date of birth of that legal name that you're using in this matter under the penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. Or how about under the penalty of treason? And yeah, treason has a very serious, I don't want to say it. If you don't know, look it up. It's not good. It's not good for them. And it's coming to that point where it's well-deserved. We watch how these people walk around like they're just some kind of gods controlling your life through the state-created organization name, that they're committing fraud by trying to tie you to it through that Gregorian biological date of birth that doesn't align. I don't know how many times I can say it. I'm just going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to be like the DJ over here. I'm going to DJ revolve it. All right. It's aggravated identity theft. Okay. So it applies if state agencies officially knowingly create or use false misleading identity documents without disclosure. Okay. Hey, we're going to use your date of birth rather than the correct date of birth. Then we're going to get you to raise your right hand and swear and affirm that the information is true and correct under the penalty of perjury. It's just ridiculous at this point. And it's an enticement to commit perjury. Moving on. Adds penalties for aggravated identity theft when used in conjunction with other crimes, fraud, and child trafficking. If every legal name is tied to a child, just look at the birth certificate. Show me where there's an adult on a birth certificate. This is child trafficking. Okay? And I just cannot express to you how registering American babies is creating a smorgasbord for the pedophiles. Okay? Oh, the pedophiles is so bad. But here, register my child, register my son or daughter so that they can look them up in the system and kind of, oh, look, this one weighs this, it's blonde hair, got blue eyes, it's da-da-da, from this family. No, stop. Take your hospitals back in your local community and put an end to the registration process. And if this doesn't do it, Lord Almighty, you know, I just don't know what to say for someone who cannot see the simplicity of what's being shared here. Similar to mail fraud, but applies to the electronic communications, databases, and electronic filings. But the state agency uses the mail to deliver and enforce fraudulent documents, birth certificates, notices, bonds. USC 18. Remember, these are all Title 18 stuff. Title 18, United States Code, subsection 1346, scheme to deprive another of honest services. Covers officials who exploit public trust under color of office, which is pretty much every one of them. Number 3, human trafficking and peonage. This is the big one. It's a felony. 18 USC subsection 1581, peonage, obstructing enforcement. All of the lawyers using these legal names in these court cases without ever informing you that you should not be giving your date of birth for those legal names have committed malfeasance, peonage, treason. You want to get rid of the Bar Association? This is your moment to shine, people. It's this simple. Let's see. Prohibits holding or returning any person to a condition of peonage, servitude for debt. Want to be a debt slave? Want to be a you? Is that you? Hey, let me see your license. Is that you? No, it's not me. Oh, okay. Because that you is a trick question. Are you the debtor? No. And how do I know this? Well, we have a young man who has warrants. You know, he has warrants. He's at Alligator Alley, stopped by the deputies at their little checkpoint because he has to use that road to get back to somewhere where people live. Believe it, that, you know. They ask him for ID. He says, I don't have it. They ask him for his name. They look up the name, and they pull a driver's license up with that name, and they come over and they show it to him and go, "Is that you?" And what did he do? What did he do at that checkpoint when they asked him for the name? He gave him the full legal name and the file registration date. And now here they are. They pulled the driver's license up on their phone. They're showing it to him. It's obviously a picture of him, but they had to ask him, is that you? Or, in other words, are you the debtor? And he said no. He said, that's all I needed to know. Have a good day. He called me. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe. He's like, you just saved my rear end by sharing that file date with me. And these are true stories. This is not some made up stuff. These are true stories of people using the file registration date in its proper place. And even with a driver's license on the phone, pulled up in their system, showing it to him, is that you? He had to have them say that's you. They have to have you say it. But they shouldn't be getting away with this, folks. All right, so where were we? Prohibits obtaining labor or services by means of force, threats, or coercion. Everyone sitting in prison today that, they're tying the Gregorian biological date of birth to that legal name that they're using to hold them in prison is committing fraud. So all you prison guards, all you prison systems, all you people involved with your stocks in the prison system, you really are in a bad investment. And you're going to find out as soon as this goes critical mass, as soon as this goes viral, and this is up to you people. I'm laying it out for you as simple as I can. So it's trafficking with respect to peonage, slavery, and involuntary servitude. That's 18 USC subsection 1590. That's 1589 is the forced labor. Criminalizing trafficking in persons. for these purposes. It's child trafficking. Only a child is referenced on the birth certificate with that legal name. A legal name can only refer to a child. 18 USC subsection 1593A, benefiting financially from peonage of slavery and trafficking, targets officials, corporations, and private individuals who knowingly profit from such systems. Oh, prisons, REITs. That's the real estate investment. False statements and perjury. 18 USC subsection 1001, statements or entries generally prohibits making false statements in matters within the U.S. jurisdiction. Now remember, folks, this is Australia, Canada, the UK, North America, Mexico. Wait a minute, there's 168 countries that they're using these legal names to just basically rob, pillage, steal, kill, and imprison people. So it's the world's time to shine. Prohibits making false statements in matters within U.S. jurisdiction. A state forcing a living person to use an inaccurate date of birth with a legal fiction could be seen as compelling perjury. It damn sure is. All right. 18 U.S.C. subsection 1621, perjury in general, applies if someone knowingly administers or enforces sworn documents with false information. Oh, that's what every DMV clerk in the country is doing. Oh, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada. You all are guilty. You better stop what you're doing or quit your job. One of the two, because that's just doing your job. Every cop that asks you for your date of birth to use with the state-created organization name has just committed fraud. This is the house of cards collapsing, people. Right here, right now, on this little live feed. On this, like, I don't know. I'm not an unknown profile, and I am. I don't know how popular I am out there within, but I definitely have some reach. You know, I've got people in the UK, I got people in Canada, I got people in Australia, I got people in Sweden, I got people in Italy. A lot of people are starting to hear about this, and it's trickling. But I can tell you, like an avalanche. One little crumb, another little crumb, another little crumb, and then it just starts to, yeah. It's what's that song? It's running down the mountain. Yeah, like an avalanche. Yeah. Okay, so where were we? Applies to someone knowingly administered or enforces sworn documents with false information. 18 U.S.C. subsection 1622, subordination of perjury. Hope everybody can hear me out there. Oh, it wasn't linked. Never mind. Oh, boom. Hope y'all can hear me out there. Let me check my messages, see if anybody's got on here yet. No, I don't see anybody on here. That is very interesting. Hi, I hope I haven't been wasting my breath this whole time, and the volume's not working. I gotta check my own volume, people. They do not want you to hear this. I will bet you. On here. Oh, good. We're good to go. We are good to go. We are rocking. Very interesting. Yeah. Stop. I didn't mute it. Make sure it doesn't bleed over. All right. Back to where we were. All right. Get back to where we were. Yep. Goodness. So, applies when officials induce or compel someone else to commit perjury. Subordination of perjury. That's, yep. Conspiracy against rights. Makes it a crime for two or more persons to conspire to oppress, threaten, or intimidate someone in the free exercise of their rights. 18 USC subsection 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. You know, I've shared this with Brian with Here's the Deal, and he just kind of deflected and ignored it and wouldn't tell people about it. You know, this was shared with Delete Laws, and he just he never responded. He just ignored it because they're playing games with lawyers. This is the biggest information to ever come forward to crush this system. And these guys are like, No, I can't tell people about it, Brian said. You really can't? Well, bring me on. I'll tell everybody. You can blame it on me. He sounded like Hillary Clinton. What difference will it make? What difference will it make? We'll get back to him. Criminalizes actions taken under color of law that deprive someone of constitutional rights. See, the word person was not defined in the Constitution, nor what did it define as corporations when it was used in the Constitution. That came later on. Part of my research that I had to know how did the word person work its way into the Constitution and what was really being used there in the redefining of it so that they could use the Constitution to try to justify their position of fraud by commingling the Gregorian biological date of birth with the state-created organization name that wasn't created the day you were born. Somebody write a song, if you would. If birth certificates or case dockets are monetized as securities, CUSIP numbers, the statute applies to fraudulent practices. 18 U.S.C. subsection 513, securities of the states and private entities, covers false securities and documents issued by or on behalf of the states, the American Banknote Company. Conspiracy in RICO. That's 18 U.S.C. 1951, interference with commerce by threats or violence. That's a violation of the Hobbs Act. Can apply where officials extort people under color of office. You got to pay. Let's see, 18 U.S.C. subsection 1962, RICO, Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act. If a state agency, private prison, or banking institution operates as part of an ongoing criminal enterprise involving fraud, trafficking, identity theft, that's what they're doing. Civil rights remedies, Title 42, USC 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights. This is beyond this, really. Allows a private right of action against state officials acting under color of law to deprive rights. Every governor in every state needs to be served this information. Every county commission, every city council, every sheriff, all 3,000 some odd whatever of them, every police chief needs to be served this information that I am sharing with you right here. Stop playing games. Stop trying to sue them and absolutely obliterate them with the truth. Because that's all this is. This is the truth. This is what you're doing. This is what we know you're doing. And if you do it again, well, that's treason. Without reason. Oh, there's a reason. Unjust enrichment. Targets conspiracies to oppress, intimidate, or hinder lawful rights. Calling you a sovereign citizen, committing slander and defamation of character to try to mislead other people from knowing what is being talked about right here, right now. That this whole entire system is predicated on fraud by the use of a legal name and the commingling of the Gregorian biological date of birth that does not align with the creation of the state-created organization name. It was created on the file registration date. Actions for neglect to prevent, that's 1986, impose liability on officials who knew of rights violations and failed to prevent them. Dave Kerner with the Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles is well aware of this file registration date. And he hasn't told his clerks, hey, we got to stop using the Gregorian biological date of birth and we need to start using the file registration date because, Dave Kerner. Ron DeSantis has been noticed. Joe Lombardo in Nevada is well aware of the file registration date. Newsom over in California is well aware of the file registration date. Tucker Carlson is aware. Dan Bongino is aware. Who else have I written? I've written Colonel Douglas McGregor. You're aware. And a ton of you out here are aware because I've been out here showing you, sharing it freely. Hey, look at this. Could it get any simpler? This just absolutely cuts the balls off of their entire system, people. This is the Achilles heel of this entire legal construct, this highly corrupt, pedophile-infested system. Let's see here. Conspiracy to interfere with rights targets conspiracy to oppress, intimidate, and hinder lawful rights. Imposes liability on officials who knew of rights violations and failed to prevent them. Summary table. We'll let you come down here and you can read into all of this. Constructive fraud, forced use of false identity, identity theft, subordination to perjury, profiting from bonded individuals, peonage, trafficking, securities fraud, jurisdiction by deception, deprivation of rights under color of law, and I really don't know what else to tell you. Okay. American Banknote Company. That does what? Oh, creates all this mess. The birth certificates. Oh, look. Legal name. Oh, look. September 11th, 2001. Because, who created the legal names? Oh, look. It's the Gregorian calendar. It's the only calendar you'll find on all digital devices. Yep. All Windows operating systems, all iPads, notepads, phones, laptops. The whole digital system is under the Gregorian Rothschild Vatican banking calendar of chaos. Let's see, what else can we do here? I would play that for you, but it didn't record very well, so I'll just let that simmer right there. You know, they want to put you in jail for pointing out who's behind all of this, who's behind the printing press, who's behind mass media, who's behind all of this. Yeah. All right. So, you know, I think that really is going to wrap it up for now. Start asking the question, people. It's really, really simple to just ask the question. Okay? Save the babies. Okay? Take back the hospitals in your communities. All right. Really, really simple. All right. So, I'm going to shut that off for a second there. That was something I recorded on Facebook, and I just wanted to get it over here on the YouTube side. Remember, the legal name was created by fraud for fraud to commit more fraud, and the biggest fraud of all is the use of your biological date of birth for something that wasn't created the day you were born. I couldn't get any more fraudulent and simple to point out. You look at the birth certificate, and you see that file registration date. The evidence is massive. For everyone that has a birth certificate in their hands has evidence of fraud that's being committed by the entire corporate and legal system. If you're tired of being tired, this is the opportunity you have to be a part of shutting it down. You know, and the simplicity of this is you do not have to tear down the entire system to do this. They just have to use the correct information off that birth certificate. And they're in a panic because they're going to lose all their debtors. That's really that's all, folks. I'm pretty tired, so if I'm stumbling with my words here, it's because I am pretty tired. But I'm just pushing it here to get this message out. What are they going to do with no taxpayers and debtors for their system? By manufacturing consent and the idea that we're volunteering to be debtors and taxpayers to their pedophile infested corporation, because that's pretty much what it is. I mean, with everything that's coming out with, the emails and and what's been coming out for a very long time, unless you live under a rock, or you're just in total denial of what's going on in the world around you today. Yeah, pretty telling. So, start asking the question. Start exposing this file registration date and this misalignment of the information that's being used off this birth certificate in relation to these legal names that they're using against you. We want everybody, we want the American people to be the rightful creditors that they're due to, that they should have been all along. Everything should have been taken care of during the bankruptcy. And let me spell out the benefits of being the beneficiary and having the proper information aligned with that legal name, that you are no longer in that trustee debtor position, but only in the position of beneficiary. That means the lights don't get turned off, the water doesn't get turned off, they can't take your car, they can't take your home. They can't drag you into their administrative tribunals and say, that you've committed some kind of crime without there truly being an injured party or true property damage. There has to be harm. There has to be injury to property, people, property, or puppy, to for there to be genuinely be a crime. Does that mean we need to let everyone out of prison? No, just those that don't have an injured party. And then there needs to be a close look at all the rest of the prison population to make sure that they're not falsely accused, because that's pretty rampant, putting innocent people in prison. Why? Because it's so profitable. It's so profitable having you and your offspring as surety and debtor to prop up the fiat of their funny money system. And if you don't know who's behind the funny money system, you don't know who's behind these legal names, and you don't know who's behind this massive fraud being committed against people by the commingling of their biological date of birth with these state-created, these state subcorporation. Okay, state of Florida is a corporation. Florida State, that's not a corporation. The state of Florida, that's a corporation. Nothing correct here, only fraud to be exposed. Realize that it's all void. Share this with your friends and family. All you got to simply do is look at the birth certificate, and you can see it for yourself, and the light bulb will go off. And then you can start asking the hard questions of all these very cruel, intentional people that are making their living off unjust enrichment and the hardships that they like to lay upon everyone using these legal names. I think that's going to be about it. I'm going to wrap that up. Somebody actually made a pretty good point here. Sean Lane did. He said, yeah, they are still illegally and unlawfully arresting us. I was arrested in court without any contracts or real warrants last October the 29th. Given 120 days for not showing an ID when Georgia is a no-show ID state. But yeah, they hunt those legal names like crack. Really, they hunt those legal names tied to your date of birth like crack, and it's fraud. He says, what do you think about the born date, file date, and TILA? Because the Truth in Lending Act. I have brought this up I have brought this and many other things up many years ago. For instance, they took the Colby, which is the equitable title, and sent it to the DTCC, and got back a birth certificate, which is the legal title, and then they combined them, and the trust was collapsed, and how these parasites are getting into our trust. But also, my born date is 12/9, and the file date is 12/18. Violation under TILA. It's all banking process. Yes. So, if you're tired of being tired, yeah. I don't know if you can. I hope you can see the comment over here. Yeah. The screen's kind of in the way a little bit. I can see there. Yeah. Yep. I got more. I got my boy Rocco to put in an amicus curiae with the trust signatory, and I was pulled out 3 days after they got it, after 53 days, and put out in the lobby where I walked home. I want these fuckers in Gitmo. Yeah. Look, folks, they're committing a crime tying you to these legal names through your biological date of birth. I don't know how many times I can say it, how simply it can be said, how easy it is to see. Now you got to do is unite. Unite around that one truth. You unite around that one truth, you will crush this legal system. You will break its back. You will put them out of business, and they should be out of business because this is an extremely bad business model. Let me give you a really good example. Donald John Trump was born on June 14th. His file registration date is June 17th. It was like 1943, something like that. What does that tell you? And these people within the system, they know what they're doing. They know about this file registration date. They know about this misalignment of information. They know what's going on at the DMV. These sheriffs that are running your counties are putting people in jail for having a bag of pot who have harmed absolutely nobody. And they know. They know what they're doing. So, it's we're at that crossroads where it's going to be those that see the truth and who are exposing those that want to continue to play the sovereign citizen deflective slander game and try to deny what they can't answer to. Verify the date of birth of the state-created legal organization name being used in this matter under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. Under penalty of treason. How about that one? Let's just step it up a little bit. Under penalty of treason. This question should be asked of every sheriff sitting in a sheriff's seat in this great nation of ours, in this wonderful country of ours. Every police chief should be asked to verify the date of birth of the legal name for everybody he's holding in his jail tonight. Every sheriff and every police chief should be asked that question under penalty of perjury, full commercial liability, and the penalty of treason. Verify the date of birth for everyone you're holding in your jail tonight or in the prison system. But mainly, let's just stick with the everyone in your county jail. Sheriff, verify the date of birth for the legal name that you have them booked into your jail with under the penalty of perjury, full commercial liability, and treason. Watch how they can't answer. I won't answer that question. I'm I'm not entertaining that foolishness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you have a loved one that's sitting in jail right now that doesn't have an injured party, because if you've injured somebody or their property, you deserve to be in a cage. Okay, I'm gonna be straight up about it. But if you have a loved one that's sitting in jail right now for a bag of weed, or for a suspended driver's license, or for anything that doesn't have an injured party, get a copy of that birth certificate, carry it down to the sheriff, and show them that you're committing fraud. You have them booked in under their biological date of birth tied to this legal name, and you're committing fraud and treason against the American people. That's how volatile this is. And what are they willing to do to try to keep this thing glued together? That's the big question, people. What are they willing to do to those of us that are tired of being tired of being forced into this relationship with these state-created organization names? And that's one I just came up with. Anybody and everybody that has a loved one that's sitting in a county jail that doesn't have an injured party, get your loved one's birth certificate, carry it down to the sheriff, and tell him, need you under the penalty of treason to verify the date of birth of my loved one that you're holding in your jail under this legal name, with that birth certificate in your hand, because you'll be able to see the evidence that the file registration date is the only correct date to be using with those legal names. And, you know, I was pretty shocked when I found out that, wow, these people, they actually know what they're doing. They know what's going on. They know what they're involved in. This is how sold out this country is on each other. Just absolutely mind-blowing how many people are sold out to this system. They're sold out to foreign powers. They're sold out to that printing press. They're sold out to that love of the paycheck. They're sold out to that what's your name, what's your date of birth. The confusion of that question in itself is so misleading. It just can't be understated. Anyway, you guys got it. It's here on YouTube, as long as it's on YouTube. Look, I lost my soulmate. I normally never, ever ask for anyone to, like, hey, if you could throw some support my way, there's a Cash App up. I don't do coffee breaks or monetized channels or any of that. It doesn't matter. The information's out here and it's free. You know, whether you can show some support for the message or not, it really doesn't. But I've got two little ones that I care for on my own, single, with two that are not registered to the crown. They didn't get any biological property, and they are the freest. And you should want that for your family. You should want that for your loved ones. And that's what this file registration date gives you. It gives you the truth to stop these people from interfering with your lives. Meanwhile, otherwise, don't be harming anybody or harming their property. Stop harming each other. Be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Okay? Don't give them a reason to need to put you in a cage. Stop killing each other and hating on each other, because that's what this system is designed to do, is divide us. And the power of this truth will be a powerful enough division in itself. So everyone get to work, get to sharing this, get to looking at your birth certificates that you and your family are holders of, and realize the misalignment of the information and what it means. Sound the alarms. All right, everyone. I am out.